We are at it again. We got our parts in today. Looks a little funky because it's got two elbows on it right now. We'll talk about that in a minute. So to start today, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this coolant line off and then this coolant line off, and then we'll just have this body here. From there, I'm gonna try and work on putting that elbow on that hose. It's just hard to do while it's in the truck. So this first hose, what I did was I took a flathead screwdriver and just kind of squeezed it in between where that lip is, and then just kind of pried it out while pushing on this side. It was a little stuck, and I think you're just supposed to be able to press on this and pop it out. But now we're gonna go ahead and undo this hose clamp and pull this piece off as a whole. And this is what we look like with that tree off. So you still got our hose down here, and this is our new one. The brass piece is actually on the hose that still connects here. The reason I did that is just so I didn't lose it. So I'm gonna pull this coolant line off and see if I can mess around with this brass piece and get this into here. And then if not, then I will just continue using the plastic one and just reuse this piece and keep this one as a spare and keep working with it. One thing I did notice about the plastic elbow versus the brass elbow is this female connector that goes into the water pump doesn't grip onto the brass very well at all, whereas the plastic it actually grabs onto because it has little metal teeth in it that sink in, and they actually sink into the plastic. They don't actually sink into the brass very well. So just a side note. So now I have a hose that will work with the brass fitting, whereas before this side, which is the side that goes into the hose, was not going to fit inside that plastic hose. So we are looking pretty good now. So what we will now do is we're going to get this set up and ready to go into the water pump. We're going to try and line up this hose and see if we can kind of finagle it to work, because that's the next weird thing. All right, so I was able to get this to work. I did have to turn this almost 180 degrees around before it would face the other way, which is fine. This is not gonna make a difference as long as it's out of the way of the throttle body for the intake to go in, which it should be, because once this is pushed in, this hose is going to slide in a little bit further. So we're going to go ahead and install our female connector. All right, female adapter is in. Good thing I had another one because I broke the first one. One of the teeth on it just sheared off, so that was the cheap one. This is the factory one that's in there now again. So now we'll try and go ahead and get the brass end in and installed, and then we'll work on putting together the tree. All right, so the brass one is doing exactly what I was worried it was going to do. And let me show you. If I pull out on it, it slides out. It's still kind of locked in, but it doesn't feel like it's sealing. And I don't like that. So I could put coolant in it and see if it leaks past, but I don't trust it. I don't think that that's gonna stay where it needs to go. So I'm a little worried about that. I think I'm gonna try and put the plastic one in there really quick and see if that makes any difference. All right, sadly it is plastic for the win. Sorry if that is a little unseeable. You actually see the scratch marks from where it was trying to sink the metal teeth into it, and they would just slide off. So I do like this hose setup though. It would definitely make it a lot easier to change this out if anything went wrong again. So I'm going to hold on to this. I'm actually going to hold on to this whole piece. And it's going in my toolbox for this truck. So if this ever becomes a problem, or if that cheap plastic one doesn't dish out, at least I have a spare elbow that I can wedge in there and hopefully at least make it home. So what I'll probably end up doing is actually ordering an identical tree again, just like that, and then having a whole setup in my truck just in case. So the true test of that is going to be seeing whether or not it leaks again. I'm going to go ahead and try and tackle the PCV valves now. That's going to be a separate video just because I don't want to mix these together. But also, if you're looking to do one or the other, then you can at least find the information to fix it instead of having to scroll through a whole other section of maintenance. So thanks for sticking with us with the coolant leak. Hopefully there will only be one more update, and that'll be filling with coolant. So I'm gonna get the coolant tomorrow, and I'll have another update with the fill and putting it all back together and checking to make sure that the coolant stays up and bleeding out the system and driving it, hopefully. But we'll see.